we begin, we'd just like to thank you guys for 700 subscribers, which is, amazing. We didn't think we'd be growing quite as quickly as we are. But of course, that means we're setting ourselves a new target. We're pushing for 800 subs. And currently, only 28.6% of you are actually subscribed. So if you do enjoy our content, then please do subscribe. It enables us to push things out as much as we possibly can. And of course, you can be the first to hear about everything we're doing. It costs you nothing, and you can always change your mind. But let's get on with the episode.
You heard the man. Hello, everybody. Hello to everyone in this League Two promotion fight. Or just League Two in general, to be honest, but the promotion fight's more interesting. I hope you're all doing well. Quiet one this weekend. We're doing all right. We're joined by Luke this week. Look, I'm here. Obviously, a rare MK Dons victory for you to get excited about for once. Not said that for a bit.
Oh, it's so good. Football is back again. My hiatus from the existence of football is over. We've returned. If you feed the horse, he's gonna score.
You were losing again at one stage.
We'll ignore that. We bounced back.
Well, it's about something you haven't done for a long time. But anyway, welcome to the show. Hope you're all doing well, as I mentioned. Pretty much as what Luke has mentioned. Again, the growth on the channel recently has been pretty mad. On YouTube, 700 subs. It was only a couple of weeks ago we were talking about 600. So there was the reception. The support has been great. So any support, any continued support, that'll be great. And welcome to all the new people who have joined. It's good to be here. Good to be here. I don't know. No, it's good to have you with us. I don't know. This is a bit of a mess. Yeah, you can tell I've got a night shift right after this, and I'm really not in the mood for it. But something I am in the mood with is another 3 points for Grimsby Town. We're going to start at the Poundland Bescott Stadium. Of course, Walsall. They've struggling with They're struggling at the minute. I think let's not pick no bones about it. They're struggling for a bit of form, a little bit of consistency, and they fall into another defeat this weekend. This time to Grimsby Town. Of course, my team, and I can tell you, for one, absolutely ecstatic about the result. I think if you put me in neutral shoes, if you'd have told me that there was one team top of the table in that game, I probably would have said it was Grimsby. I thought for pretty much. Oh no, I thought we're the better team. I thought we're the better team throughout. I thought we started the game really well, conceded that goal, which we've just been caught out in midfield, 2 passes and then they're in. But it was the fact that we started pretty well, which sort of annoyed me there a little bit. But I wasn't worried for a minute, and I haven't been worried for the past few weeks, which is a promising thing in itself. Because there's been times, mainly at the start of the season and, for the first few months where, we go a goal down and you think, oh, that's it. Didn't feel it at all, this. And I thought we took all 3 goals quite well, actually. It's a routine free kick for Jaden Lucas first. Oh, by the way, I thought was outstanding yesterday. Was the best player on the pitch by a mile. A penalty just been given just before the half-time whistle where Warren got fouled substitute. I thought he did really well to get into the box. It was a good move from Svan Thorson for him to make that, though. You can have 2 keepers for Danny Rose's penalty. No one's saving it, to be quite honest. And it was just, he's a man on fire at the minute, is our Rosie. And I tell you what, the sort of stare he gave to the Walsall fans afterwards as well was there for about 5 seconds. It was just so cold. I know I'm sounding like a 10-year-old here. And then we go and wrap up the 3 points. With a really good move that's come from their goal kick, which found Luca in on goal, and he's just had the simple task of sorting it beyond Thomas Simkin. And we come away with 3 points. And the thing is, could have been more. McEachran's hit one straight at the keeper. Barrington's made a little bit of a mess, rounding the keeper at the end. I'm sort of waffling on a little bit, but we're unbeaten in 8. Goal difference separates us from the playoffs. And speaking of goal difference, we no longer have a minus goal difference. I know. I'd never thought I'd see the day. I know. It's been a long time coming. What is... I'd have loved to have made the playoffs with a minus goal difference. How cool that would have been. No, look, it's going well at the minute. It was the perfect bounce back from Tuesday, which I didn't think we were anywhere near at best. I thoroughly thought we deserved it. Plenty more question marks about Walsall. Matt Sadler's comments, I think, after the game were bizarre, about, the support or maybe. And it's someone like a bit of a dig. He just felt like a bit of a dig towards the fans without, him probably saying it towards or something like that. That's what it felt like. It's almost a sense that the wheels are falling off at the minute. And they were absolutely appalling yesterday. They had one plan. It was more like hoof it. And we dealt with it really well. They had a couple of chances, first half in particular, where they've tried to hit us on a counter attack. Kanoa Doma had that lob, but other than that, second half in particular, I don't remember a chance they had. Like, if that's the top, if that's the top of the league, then I think already that we banged on about this for ages, but the quality of this league this year is truly awful. It's truly awful. And as I said, I thought we were due one against Walsall, for the past couple of batterings that we've had from them. So that one felt good on that level, but, great day for us. But it's a good job that Bradford didn't capitalise, and we'll get on to them, I'm sure. But, yeah, I don't know where you're beginning with Walsall at the minute. The wheels are falling off.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a very, very flat performance. I mean, obviously they went and got the goal, but beyond that, it wasn't great, was it? And I don't know. I almost wonder if they went too heavy with physical strikers because they had Adoma and Harrison up there together, which can kind of work on the counter attack, but as your overall style of play, I suppose it doesn't feel quite as natural, I suppose. Yeah, they're just very off the pace, and they're very lucky that Bradford couldn't capitalise, Doncaster couldn't capitalise, Notts couldn't capitalise, but obviously AFC did. But they're opening the door again, which isn't great. A few weeks back we were talking about how they're pretty much home and dry at this point, and it would take some sort of monumental collapse for them to not be away and up. But that seems to be where we're at, which is crazy to think about at this stage.
And we banged on for it for ages. I think, with Walsall, we've been mentioned. It's been mentioned a few times on this pod. I think I've said it a couple of times. Kieran has definitely said it. We could be looking at the best League Two side in history at the minute. And for a period, they were certainly on track to do that because they looked unstoppable at one point. I do feel the loss of Nathan Lowe has massively hindered him. Like, because, I mean, is it Wheatley? Ethan Wheatley they brought from Manchester United on loan, and he's nowhere to be seen.
I believe
Like,
so, yeah.
He's nowhere to be seen. All right, yeah. Ellis Harrison has come in, and he's doing all right at the minute. He's got a few goals for him. But I just feel like they're missing just that little bit more of a spark. Which someone like Nathan Lowe. Don't get me wrong, Walsall are top there by they're not there by accident. They've clearly been a very strong side this season. There's some good players there. But something seems really off at the minute, and I've seen a few Walsall fans getting on the back of Matt Sadler at the minute. I just think losing Lowe has given them more problems than maybe what I'd have thought, because I'm not sure I think it was always going to be hard to replace him, but I just feel like they haven't done anywhere near enough in that part.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree. I mean, I do think the Harrison addition was actually okay because as a Dons fan, I've seen him enough to know that he's better than we ever gave him credit for, and I think they're finally starting to see the results of that. But at the same time, he's a good League Two striker, but he's not an outstanding League Two striker like they had in Lowe. I think they in a January window, you're always going to struggle to replace that a player of that caliber, without multiple bodies coming in and all doing a reasonable job. But yeah, I mean that's what four without a win now. They've got a couple of maybe more favourable fixture. I think Bromley's coming up. I think maybe Gillingham as well. I mean they need those results at this point. Otherwise, we could end up getting to the point where we're talking about them not getting autos, which would be absolutely mental. I mean, I don't think we'll get to that point, but you never know. With this league, the way it's been this season, it's just strange.
Like, they're still 8 points clear of Wimbledon in fourth. The very least I expect from them is to still get automatics. But from being so far out, what was it, 15, 16 points clear at one stage, game in
Yeah,
hand?
they were so far gone.
It was something like that. It was ridiculous. And, this has been some collapse. There's no other way of putting it. But I'll tell you what, if you was a Bradford City fan, you'd have been, before 3:00, of course, you'd have been watching that game yesterday, licking your lips for the chance that they could go top of the table. The amount of Bradford fans giving us so much love after the game. It felt a bit weird at times, but totally understandable. I think I'd have done the same if I was in their shoes. So they had a chance to capitalise. They had a decent opportunity to do that at Gillingham, struggling. Have been well off it this season. With the form that Bradford have been going at the minute, you'd fully expect them to get 3 points, and of course they went and ballsed it up. I'm not sure if the manager of the month curse has maybe played a part in that. Of course, with Graham Alexander winning it, couple of shouts for probably Artell maybe should have won it. I think probably he could flip a coin. I think, I don't think he could complain with either of them, to be honest. I think Bradford had a couple more games than what we did in February. So I could probably get it from that sense. But look, I'd quite happily trade in a Manager of the Month award if that means we get into the playoffs. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, they lost 1-0 at Gillingham. Connor Masterson with the only goal of the game. There still might be more opportunities. There probably will. But that's certainly a missed one from what I feel.
Oh yeah, it's 100% a missed opportunity. I mean, we were looking at this in the preview episode, and we were like, oh yeah, if this is anything other than a Bradford win, this is like the most League Two thing that could possibly happen. It just shouldn't happen.
And can I just stop you right there before we do? I think I sort of owed Jack an apology. I sort of just
Yeah.
laughed up saying, yeah, it's
I was
like,
gonna say, we were
a
all
laugh
laughing.
here. Gillingham are going to win. It's like, yeah, no, Bradford are going to absolutely tramp them. Yeah, how wrong was I? The beauty of League Two, it's just a league. It's just a gift that keeps on giving. But yeah, what else were you going to say? Sorry, I know I interrupted you there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a fun one as a neutral, and I mean, Bradford did have chances in that game as well, ones that they'll obviously made to regret by not scoring, and I feel like after Gillingham got their goal, you could just see a different level of confidence. I mean, they still conceded a couple of chances, but there were also a couple of moments where it's like, oh, okay, they could actually extend their lead. It was such a huge confidence booster for them, at home as well. And I think it was just a case of the first goal was crucial, and by not getting it, Bradford kind of put themselves into a corner that they couldn't quite get out of. But I mean, I still think they'll bounce back. They've got so much momentum, even with that one loss sort of slowing them down a little bit. It's definitely not the last we've seen of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think they've got the perfect opportunity to bounce back next week against Tranmere, although unbeaten in 3 under Andy Crosby at the minute.
That's trickier than it appears.
It's an interesting one but they're at home and everyone, what is it, 10 straight home wins, is it?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah, along those lines.
So you fancy them every day of the week, especially at Valley Parade. By no means an easy game at the minute against a little bit of a rejuvenised Tranmere side, but yeah, I don't know. Look, it's a decent win for Gills. I'll give them that. Wins have been few and far between, over the course of this season, over the past 2-3 months especially. 2 wins from 3, if you want to look at it that way. They beat Morecambe the other week. Was abysmal at Newport in the week. So, yeah, there'll be more opportunities, I'm sure. Is it? I mean, if they win the league, I'll be... I think it says more a lot of Walsall than it does them. Don't get me wrong, Bradford have been brilliant. It's just how far Walsall have come and how far they've fallen. For the fact that we're still talking about that the title is still up for grabs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. This could get interesting, actually. Bradford, I think Bradford are certainly the team to look out for at this moment. I don't think one bad result does that. Hampers that. They do need to respond pretty much straight away, though. And like I said, I've got a good chance to do that. Excuse me. Let's have a look at some of the other games. Where do we start or where do we continue next? Let's have a look at AFC Wimbledon, Notts County. Of course, this was another big game at the top of the table. Notts County, I think, they're not doing great at the minute. I've seen a few comments about, from their fans getting on Stuart Maynard's back a little bit. I mean, they've won once in their last 6 games. 3 of them have been defeats, back-to-back defeats. You'd have thought that, after defeat against Barrow in the week, coming up against what is a promotion chasing side as well in AFC Wimbledon, who are pretty good at home. I think, that's been made very aware. And yeah, Wimbledon have won 2-0, and it looked more than deserved, actually. I think there's a couple of question marks for Notts. They travel to Blundell Park on Tuesday. Probably, I'd like to say that, I don't think any team will like playing us at the minute. Chances are they'll now come away with 3 points. Now I've said that. But the truth of the fact is, if we beat Notts County on Tuesday, we go above them. So there's maybe that part for the fact that if they're not careful, if they don't get a few more wins there, they're quickly going to slide down the table, because there's a couple of teams below them that are hungry to be up there. I'm not sure Notts are really showing it at the minute. For Wimbledon, it was important to bounce back, from a couple of defeats, and they hadn't won in their last 4. A terrible defeat at Morecambe in the week. But they have done that. It still keeps them in the autos mixed as well, only 2 points behind Doncaster in third. But I think there's certainly 1 or 2 alarm bells at Notts County at the minute if they're not careful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I caught bits of the first half of this one, and I mean, I've got to be honest, AFC were all over him, all over him in that first half, and they definitely deserved a lead. I mean, to get by the second half, the game felt gone. to be honest, I think obviously we know Notts can string a few passes together, which sounds all too familiar, really, with my own team, but. I think once they sort of reached the halfway line, it's a case of, oh, what do we do now? they sort of struggled beyond that point. And I think it's only after halftime that we started to see them actually push and maybe get something back. And I think they'll be disappointed. I think Jata hit the bar at one point as well, so they'll be disappointed to at least not half the deficit. But at the same time, they very easily could have conceded a third. There were a couple of chances. I know Stevens had a few over the course of the game. It's a really, really solid win from AFC, but for Notts, it's just, I almost wonder if injuries tend to hit them hard. I don't think they've had too many. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they haven't had too many. But when they do get these injuries, it seems to affect them worse than other teams. You take a player out their starting 11, it's like they almost can't function. I don't know if there's a problem with depth in that side, even though on a base level it still looks strong.
One thing I've noticed though, I think some of their injuries have been down to more of their key players. Like Jody Jones has missed a lot of football this season actually, they've had a few more. Was it my Traore missed yesterday with an injury? David McGoldrick's been a bit in and out from what I've seen. So that they have been hit hard, but at the same time, some of their players in that squad that I think they still probably should be doing than what they are currently at present, because
Exactly.
it's been pretty
the players
abject
they've
for a
got
while.
available. The players they've got available, you shouldn't need a McGoldrick or a Jones in there to at least put up a fight. Especially when you do have something to fight for at the right end of the table. There's a lot to be positive about there. But the second they lose 1 or 2 of these players, they just seem to collapse, and that's not sustainable for a team that's pushing for promotion. And yes, it can happen to anyone, but you don't want to be the 1-man team or the 2-man team or whatever. You need your whole squad, and for whatever reason, once they lose a couple of players, that seems to be it.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. Tuesday's going to be a really interesting game. I mean, look, it's Grimsby Notts, so it's probably going to be a goal fest. The day I see that fixture be a 0-0 will be the day that I don't know. I don't even know. It just seems pretty
Great
mental.
analogy.
Yeah, no. You can tell I'm not good with this sort of stuff. But it's huge for Wimbledon. It's what they needed. After that, but I'd be pretty alarmed if I was Notts County. I think it's the manner of some of those results as well. Barrow at home, they sounded not great. Fleetwood, I mean, a 2-2 draw there. They nicked a point in the 89th minute. Tranmere, I know they won that game, but I heard that they weren't great at all. It took them 80 minutes to break them down. 1-1 draw against Colchester. I mean, Colchester look all right at the minute anyway. It was always going to be tough to break them down. And then Port Vale, I think they're quite unlucky in the Port Vale game, especially first half. Had loads of chances in that one. Didn't take it. And then, that goal, from what I remember, was quite poor. But they need to get a couple of wins in there because, honestly, you look at these teams around them. I know that Port Vale, they've drawn quite a lot of their games recently. Crewe are still, they need a bit of consistency, but there's no reason why the way they're going at the minute, why the likes of Grimsby, Colchester, yes, all right, Bromley lost, but if they maybe get a few wins, maybe they're knocking on the door, the same level with Notts. It's a really interesting one to look out for, and I'll certainly keep an eye on the Magpies over the course of the next few weeks. Doncaster drew 2-2 with Swindon. They were 2-0 up in this one, and it took them, the best part of not even 2 minutes in the second half to throw that away. They got off to the perfect start with another goal for Rob Street. 2-0 up in the 22nd minute through a goal from Joseph Barrow. I'd be pretty annoyed if I was Doncaster there, especially I think in the manner in which how they've conceded 2 goals in very quick succession in the second half. I know I sort of watched a video from, I think it was Chad actually. He was far from pleased from after that one. It felt like a defeat, and it just feels like it in a way. I know Swindon have been doing pretty well under here and all the way. But yeah, at home, and to be 2-0 up at home, the old cliche is 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline, and that's what they've been done by.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and it's a total throwaway of a result, really. You can't really put it any other way. They started so well, and it was kind of a case of, maybe they finally got over this whole shaky home form thing, and then Swindon come out, and by the 52nd minute they're back in it, and I think by the end of the game, stats wise, it was actually relatively even. I know there was I think there was a disallowed goal towards the end of that game for Doncaster as well, but it's poor. I mean, if Doncaster don't go up, it's going to be entirely down to their inability to make their home fortress, because there's been too many of these results, on their home turf, and Swindon are a decent side, but again, with the quality Doncaster have, they should still be able to put it away, especially when you're already 2-0 up. You have to be far more resolute holding on to that position, especially at home.
I don't know where I stand with Doncaster. 1 week they can be brilliant. 1 week they can be, I think in the past couple of games in particular, they've had a fair few chances. But I mean, you look at that game against Bromley in particular, they had 33 shots to Bromley's 8, and Bromley won 1-0. But I mean, that was a game that if you don't put your chances away, you get punished eventually. And then in this game, another 16 chances to them because they're 2-0 up in this one. So at least they found a onion bag. But it's just seeing it out. I do worry for them a little bit, I think, with some of the other teams. But they have proven that they can pick it up when the time is right. In big moments, they've got some interesting games coming up. I've noticed that they've got Crewe next, then they head to Salford, then they've got Carlisle and Walsall in their next 4. If you want to go beyond that, Cheltenham after that, and then they've got Wimbledon if we're talking next 6. So it's not an easy run of fixtures there at all, and some that will certainly test them. But they can score. Look, they scored 53 goals this season. They're just scored so many more than that. I think you've got to give credit to Swindon though for the fight back. It's another point for them. It sort of keeps their faint hopes of playoffs alive. I don't think they'll quite do it. They are 10 points adrift. But Holloway's made an impact, and we've gone on to that. But we're not going to talk about that because we spoke about that to death. And yeah, it certainly feel like a better result for Swindon than it does Doncaster. I think that's one thing that I think we can say. Let's have a look at. In fact, no, I want to touch on Colchester first. Actually, yeah, they're all right, aren't they? They've gone to Cheltenham. They've won there. Cheltenham have been good at home. I saw some of Michael Flynn's comments. He was not happy with Colchester or Danny Cowley. It's Danny Cowley, making people's blood boil. He sort of still does mine, and I'm not looking forward to playing Colchester at the end of the month. But there's so many games unbeaten now. They've got the wind in their sails. They're 4 points behind us, Grimsby in 8th. Oh, they're 4 points behind Crewe in 7th. If you look at it in the play, I don't know why I put it like that. It's the players that they want, and I've seen quite a lot of stuff saying they're everyone's dark horses at the minute, and it's hard to disagree with the form they've been on. They've been taking points off teams and they're not losing games. They're built on solid foundations and they're managed by a very good manager. And they're certainly a team to be feared at the minute. I like Colchester a lot, and I know you certainly do. And do you want to buy you a Colchester shirt at this rate?
I think I'm not going to go that far. I'd still want us to absolutely batter them. I think they beat us both times actually, so maybe I shouldn't say anything. But actually, all I'm saying is everyone else that's backing them now. I called it. I was here first. But no, this was an interesting game actually, because it was one we kind of knew would be close, and I think there were sort of moments for both teams. But I think it was always going to be a case of whoever gets that one goal, that's kind of going to be it. There were a few nearly moments, as I say, for both sides, but in the end, it was Colchester that just had that one moment of quality to put the game away. And well, we were criticising them earlier in the season for not turning draws into wins. They're finally doing it. This very easily could have been a draw. It very easily could have been a loss as well. But they were strong enough. They kept pushing, and they've got the result. And the dark horses, they keep riding.
Yeah, I think we said in the week that I didn't think this game would be high on quality. So in terms of goal sense, I didn't think there'd be many in it. And as you pretty much alluded to, I think whoever got that goal would probably go on and win it. And Colchester have certainly done that. I mean, Harry Anderson with the goal there, they're a team that know their roles. They know their roles. They've got good quality. They've got good players. They can find ways to hurt teams. They're built on solid defense. They're built on a solid defense, solid foundations, managed by, two managers. Well, a manager and his his brother. Yes, his brother, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why it took me ages to think that. I think I remember when Colchester appointed the Cowleys. I always thought this was a very good appointment for them, because I know that obviously Colchester have had quite a few rocky years where they've been at the bottom end of League Two, haven't really done anything. And I think I think they had 3 managers in total last season. I think if they made, honestly, I think them appointing the Cowleys was probably the best thing they've done in a long time. I think if they'd have probably made, I don't think there's many other names that I think probably would have got them out of the scenario last year. Although I say that, I mean, Forest Green and Sutton stank the place out, to be quite honest. But Colchester at one stage, they looked in real trouble. They managed to get enough points to claw out of it just. And I don't think this is much of a surprise either. I think we all saw the recruitment in the summer, and it was all about how impressed we are. Yes, granted, it's taken a little bit of time. They've had a bit of a slowish start. They certainly had to build up for it, and they're certainly starting to reap the rewards now. Going to Cheltenham, and picking up a win there. Not many teams have done that. Is already huge. They've got Port Vale next. I look at their next 3. They've got, or their next 4 even. They've got Port Vale next, Fleetwood, and then they head to Bradford, and then they're at home to Grimsby. There's 4 difficult games there. But they shouldn't be fearing it. They really shouldn't be fearing it with the momentum they've got at the minute.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as they're competing the way they have been over the last 9, 10, 11 games, there's no reason why they can't take some, if not all of these results. I'd be very shocked if they came away with all of them. And I think their unbeaten run probably will end within those 4 fixtures somewhere. But as long as they can get results out of a couple of them, and then use that with the momentum still, and really push those last few fixtures, there's no reason why they can't creep in there. And I would back them to do it. It's taken them a while to build their project, but they've let it happen. They've been patient with it. It's been step by step, and they're starting to reap the rewards. And I really would not be surprised if they do make it.
I look at it: Crewe 7th, Grimsby 8th, Colchester 9th. I mean, I've seen a load of people mention Colchester and Grimsby for dark horses. I think I've seen more Colchester, and yeah, I'm all right. I'm fine with it. This is going to be interesting. At this moment in time, I can't see Crewe making it. I just can't. I think injuries have hit them hard, and they've not been on the best of runs. It just feels like a little bit at times, a little bit to last season, in a sort of sense. Plus, I think Crewe have the hardest running out of all of them. I think there's also that to take into account. But there's no reason why neither us or Colchester can make it at the minute.
Potentially both at this stage, to be honest.
Potentially both. But also, I look at it this way: us and Colchester were both 21st and 22nd last season. The progress that it doesn't take a genius to see how far both of us have come in the space of a few months. That's all I'm going to say. They're good. They're good. We're good at the minute.
Cutting edge analysis.
I don't know what more you want me to say. We're good at football, and we can play. They're good at doing, I think, probably the other side of the game well. They know all the dark arts and all that. But they're effective and they know how to do it. Let's have a look at the relegation battle. Let's start. Let's go to MK Dons. A victory against Morecambe. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. This one. Oh my God! If you'd have lost to Morecambe, I'd have been. I don't even saying. Yeah, MK Dons. Could go down. That would have been. I think everyone would have loved that. No, let's not. I don't think it's a secret. I think if you'd have offered MK Dons relegation to the National League, it would be great. That ground would look great on a Tuesday night against Tamworth. But unfortunately, 3 points there. 3 points there. I think you're absolutely fine, unfortunately. Go on, what do you think?
It's just good to know that we can focus on we've still got finish off this season first, but we can focus on our project for next season. I have no idea what's going on with the management situation.
It looks whatever like that project is, because at the minute I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't tell you. I mean, I have no idea who's coming out. I've heard literally nothing. But Gladwin's done a reasonable job. I think you could kind of tell with the Accrington game in the midweek game that we just we hadn't had the preparation. But I feel like we entered this game looking a lot more free, and we're starting to play with a bit more confidence. I know Morecambe did end up scoring first, but for the first time in a long time, it looked like we actually had ideas going forward. I think before that game, we'd gone 2 and a bit games without a shot on target, which is just ridiculous for the players that we have available. But we looked much more free flowing going forwards. Obviously, we were then pegged back by the penalty, which the weird stat of Truman having to face a penalty every other game is continuing, which is very, very strange. He's only played about 8 games, so there's like 4 pens, which is a joke. We need to sort that out. But I think it's Cheltenham that will benefit from that if that carries on. But I digress. I think what was really good for us is we fought back immediately. It was a brilliant header from Offord to get us back in, and then second half we just kept testing them. And for once, we scored a kind of scrappy goal. We did a thing where we had a shot on target, the keepers spilled it, and we've scored the rebound. We don't do that enough, and we've finally done one of those goals. It doesn't have to be the perfect goal every time. You just need any kind of goal to get you the result. And Morecambe just didn't have enough. They tried to put a bit of pressure on us, but I don't think they had many ideas. If I'm being totally honest, I think they had a couple of individual performances that looked okay, but on the whole, I can see why they're down there. I will say fair play to their fans. they tried to make as much noise as they could, or although there were only a few of them. That you can tell they're going through a bit of a bit of a rough time, and also fair play because we had a minute's applause in the 32nd minute for Mr. George Baldock. Would have been his 32nd birthday, and they all joined in impeccably. So yeah, huge thanks for that as well.
Yeah, I was going to make a joke there, but now you mentioned that, it doesn't seem right. That's class. But yeah, it's pretty mad what a couple of shots on target can do in a game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly that. Just shoot, hit the big thing with the sticks in the net. Just do that.
shoot, even if it's from from your own from your own goal kick, just have a go. See if you can get anywhere near it. That's happened before. I want to touch on Morecambe a little bit more in a minute because I want to touch on it on the wider discussion of the relegation battle. Let's go to Prenton Park. Tranmere have picked up a little bit recently under Andy Crosby after Nigel Atkins left. 2 draws in their last 2. Against Grimsby on Tuesday night and against I can't remember the played now. Port Vale. I'm trying to think at the top of my head. Yeah, I've seen a couple of them saying that this one against Bromley was a bit of a must win, and yeah, I'd probably agree to that, but it was always going to be a difficult game. We do have some thoughts from Jack from this one, in which I thought I'd read out. So what he said about the game: a fox on the pitch delayed kickoff yesterday, but given the result, I'd asked him to come back for every game now, and yeah, he's probably been more useful than some of their attackers. The perfect definition of a fox in a box. I think that would have been perfect for them. Although we need chances to create. I'm not sure how many they have been doing. But anyway, congratulations to Crosby on another good result. And the atmosphere at the end showed it. But as I said on the pod before, this squad shouldn't be near a relegation battle with the quality it has. I'm sure we'll touch on that bit in a little bit in a minute. Each player had huge upsides, but also areas they struggled with. And Nigel never capitalised on our players' best qualities. Crosby has done that, and you can see the result. And of course, I think one player to mention in particular with that is Josh Hawkes. With him scoring was the icing on the cake after an incredibly unfortunate 6 months of not finding his way into the squad. Jack said something about of Josh Hawkes that apparently he broke down in tears in one of the Tranmere supporters lounge after the game doing an interview, how hard that the past few months have been. It just, you can't help but feel for the lad because he sounds like he's been awfully managed by Nigel Atkins there. And on this day, he's probably Tranmere's brightest player. Arguably alongside Amari Patrick, 2 players that could do stuff there. I have no idea why he's frozen out. And I think probably Tranmere fans will be sort of along that as well. And finally, players are connecting with each other and getting better each game. So it was a huge step in the right direction, but we need to continue it now. 4 points from the drop zone at the moment, but we need to get further away. And I think it's just the fact that, they are 4 points adrift now, a little bit more breathing space than what they had done, compared to a week ago or stuff like that. But it's a terrific win against, a good Bromley side as well. And a bit of a bit of an informed Bromley side. They've only, before the game, they'd only lost, one of the last 7, 5 wins in that time. So it was a cracking result for them. But you certainly see the results of the other teams with Morecambe losing, and we'll hop on to Carlisle in a minute, with them losing. It just feels like a significant weekend in the relegation battle, potentially. There's still, 10, 12 games to go, but already it just feels like a big one.
Well, yeah, it's just a momentum swing, isn't it? And actually, Bromley started the game okay. But I mean, Brooklyn are longer. I knew he had quality when he went there, and fair play, brilliant assist. But beyond that, Bromley didn't actually create all that much, and Tranmere, by contrast, they did create, and they played with a confidence that certainly hasn't been seen there for a long time. Much like our game, actually. And, I think it's just playing with that a bit more freedom, a bit more confidence, and just being like, right, we're going to give it a good go. And it's that sort of attitude that can get you through these sorts of games. And they were able to turn it around. In the end, it was a quite a clever winner from Patrick, really, blindsiding the keeper from the edge of the box. Maybe keeper could have done slightly better, but either way, you'll take it. You're just putting the ball in the right areas. If you don't ask, you don't get, and it's a crucial result that they had the draws beforehand. They've now got a win. They're really starting to build up a little bit now, and there's no reason why they can't start to go on, at least a little bit of a run. They're not going to suddenly fly out all the way up the table or anything like that, but they can certainly do enough to propel themselves to safety.
Exactly, and I think the last 3 games have certainly showed that they are up for the fight. Something I've somewhat questioned whether they have done, especially, in recent weeks. I don't think the players have helped themselves. Like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I don't think it was mainly for the lack of trying. I think for a large of it, they were woefully set up by an inept manager. I honestly, from some of the stuff I've heard about Nigel Atkins and Tranmere, the fact that I think he can call himself a fan, I think is ridiculous. Once upon a time, we all thought he was the best manager in the league. We'll talk no more about that, and that is one I regret deeply. He's arguably been one of the worst this season. I mean, him and probably Mark Kennedy. I think are probably two shouts of terrible management. Although, well, I suppose how much you rate Mike Williamson, I guess. I don't know. That could be one, yeah. Awful managers Olympics for 24-25 season. That could be something that I wish we could do. I'm not sure if we can do that though. But Crosby's gone in there, on a bit of a temporary basis, has given him a lift. I'll be surprised if I think they'll probably keep him on to the end of the season. It certainly feels like that's the way he's going. And unbeaten in 3, 5 points collected in those games. I think I think there's certainly worse options out there. Certainly one just to take it to the end of the season, hope this takeover goes through and then start to go again next season. It just felt, but yeah, like I said, it felt like a big result. They've got the tricky task of going to Bradford on Tuesday, though. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, it's a potential banana skin for Bradford, but there's maybe the opportunity there for Tranmere to maybe get something as ridiculous as that sound with how good Bradford have been at home. It's not going to be easy though. They've got to crack a very good home record.
It's almost a free hit, that really, because they've had a couple of results, they can just give that a good go. If they don't get it, then fair enough. Bradford are a really good side, and they can just move on to the next ones. But with this upsetting confidence, why not just go for it?
It's mainly the games you're looking at afterwards. I mean, they've got Fleetwood to come. They played Cheltenham. Harrogate is another big one. They've got Chesterfield coming up, and then they've got another big one against Accrington, and coming up. So, I mean, people probably expect Tranmere to lose, and probably rightly so. But it's the other games. You're looking at. If they can maybe nick a few points here and there, then they'll certainly put themselves in good stead. I was somewhat half glad to see Bromley lose yesterday because I was starting to get a little bit worried for them in this potential playoff mix. Of course, if they'd have won yesterday, they'd be on 54 points. They'd be up in 8th, 2 points behind us and Crewe, currently in 7th and 8th. So that's big on that perspective. I'm not sure about Bromley. I think they'll just miss out, but I don't want to rule anything out yet. I think I think you fancy them over some of the other teams that may be below them. The likes of Salford, Fleetwood have picked up a little bit in the last few weeks. One or two maybe results recently, including the one yesterday, might have turned that down a little bit. But look, it's still been a fucking season for Bromley regardless. But I think they'll be disappointed with that yesterday, truth be told. Let's have a look at Carlisle. I was very optimistic with them this week. And it was hard not to be. They had a good win at Barrow last week. It just felt like a huge night for them. It's like, right, this is where their season starts. In this sort of, it feels like a little bit of a mini league with the likes of Tranmere, Morecambe, and potentially Accrington as well, who are far from safe. Yeah, going to Harrogate, who were, well, in terms of position wise in the table, not much better than them. It almost felt like 3 points were a must in this one, and they went and lost it in the 95th minute. I think it came from a long throw. It was a shot on the edge of the box. It just went through a load of bodies. It's taken a touch off Josh Vella. And then, I think with Tranmere winning in particular, they're now 6 points adrift, and I can't help but feel that is such a sucker punch for them. A huge one.
Oh yeah, no, it is, and I mean, it was the ultimate smash and grab sort of result. I know Harrogate had more shots in that game than Carlisle did, but I certainly felt that the quality of chances that Carlisle that we were creating were better than the ones that Harrogate were creating. It's just a case of Carlisle have had their chances, they've missed them, and ultimately, right at the very end, they've been made to regret it, and yeah, it's a huge wasted opportunity in that regard. The performance wasn't all that bad. It was just one of those days where they just didn't have the quality in front of goal, and that can happen, of course. But you're at this you're at the business end of the season now. It's one of them that it's going to hurt that a little bit more. So it's now all about the mental side of things. How do the players now react to this? Because again, the performance wasn't awful, but they've got nothing to show for it. So they need to go into the next game and really go for it again. Yeah, otherwise that could have been the end of their run, and that could be the end of them in the EFL. I mean, I'd hope they've got more fight to give yet, but we'll have to wait and see.
I completely missed the fact as well they played Walsall in the week and they picked up a 1-1 draw there, which is probably not the worst result in the world as well. But you look at their next three, they've got AFC Wimbledon, they've got Bromley, and then they've got MK Dons. All three of them are at Brunton Park. So they need some points at home, and that's probably where they're going to get that. I mean, look, Bromley and AFC Wimbledon in particular are going to be two very difficult games. MK is an interesting one, but if we can get them on a good day, there's well,
Yeah, I mean, who knows where we'll be at that point.
It depends. And then you look at it after that. I mean, they go to Doncaster after that. Yeah, that's going to be difficult. They've just got some really tough games coming up. But you also look closer to the end of the season. They've got games like Newport coming up. They've still got to go to Morecambe. They've still got to go to Accrington. It's those sort of games that I think could define it. If I can maybe get some points, maybe out the likes of Chesterfield, Cheltenham, Salford as well. If I can maybe get a few there, who knows? But I can't help but think that's a huge kick in the teeth for them because they're at a point now where they need wins and they need them quickly. Yeah, look, we look, there was unbeaten in 4. Only one win in there, but draws get you relegated. Truth be told, in this position, draws just get you relegated. We're at a point now where wins are so crucial, and it must have been hard seeing that right at the end. But ultimately, had 2 shots on target in the end, so I'm not really sure about that. Harrogate, I think they'll be fine now. To be honest, on 40 points, they're 11 points clear of Morecambe. I think they'll be okay, just about. You do look at Accrington on the other hand; they're far. They're not quite out of it yet. They're only 6 points adrift. Let's have a look at some of the other games real quick. Fleetwood drew 1-1 with Port Vale, a sucker punch at the end for Fleetwood with a 96-minute Laurent Tolai penalty. Cancelling out a Ryan Graydon goal. That goal, I love that goal. If you've seen it, it's literally come from one end, like a scramble in the box. It was like, I don't know, that Port Vale had like 2 chances. Somehow didn't go in over the line. Fleetwood went up the other end. The ball to Ryan Graydon. He's rounded the goalkeeper, sorted it into an empty net. That is prime League 2 right there. And I absolutely love it. But ultimately, they've conceded right at the end through another penalty. And 3 points for Fleetwood there would have been huge. It would have been huge because they'll be still alive in this playoff race. It's dropping results like that, and they've had one against Notts County where they conceded at a similar time. I think that was slightly early, but that was like in the 89th minute as well. It's those sort of things in which are going to cost them this season. Port Vale have got a point in the end, just about. From that, it's a 3rd straight draw if you want to look at it that way. I think there's mixed thoughts from that. Probably more away that, certainly I think Port Vale will certainly be more of the happier than Fleetwood going away from home and, scoring that 96-minute pen to share the spoils.
I'm not so sure because
I think if we're looking at it like that, I'll be honest, I've not seen anything from it. I'm just looking at it like that. But I think certainly from Fleetwood's side, I think there's certainly a case there. Look, stats don't tell a whole story, but it seemed pretty similar. 2 shots on target for Fleetwood, though. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it was just the fact that the first goal was the 81st minute as well. So it was late either way. I don't know how there weren't more goals in that game, to be honest, because some of the chances that didn't go in uh, were simply ridiculous. Uh, I actually think it's kind of just a bad point for both sides, really. Fleetwood needed that win to try and keep themselves alive in the playoff race. Port Vale again needed the win to keep themselves alive in the autos race. They also needed to get away from the playoffs race, so they're firmly in that top seven. And in the end, I mean, it's been a very dramatic game for a neutral. That was probably a brilliant game, but I think for supporters of both sides, it's probably just a little bit disappointing.
I suppose you look at it in the sense that Port Vale are unbeaten in 11 and have drawn 6. I think so. Not losing games. That's
Well, yeah, there's that side to it, but teams that are at the top end win games. So you
true.
draw when they win. That's 2 points lost.
True. It just feels like no one wants. I know we said it in terms of the automatic. No, I don't think many teams want playoffs at the minute. Certainly the team. You look at the top 7 again. Only Wimbledon was the only team that won as well. So there's another thing for you. I don't really know much more to say on that. Yeah, Salford drew with Crewe. I mean, it's a point for Crewe. Salford's pitch is absolutely terrible, by the way. If any of you have seen it, it was mainly looking at Crewe's equaliser. Jesus Christ, it looks rotten. If anything, like it just doesn't look safe at all. And I don't really know what to make of that. Really, we know that Crewe have had their struggles with injuries and a little bit of consistency recently. It's a good goal from Mo Riordan. Salford taking the lead in this one. I wasn't embracing the fact that Salford did score, although I do blame Flashscore for fooling me in the first half because it said that they scored in the first half, and they updated it 10 minutes later saying that they hadn't scored. It proper had me on because I was enjoying our time in the playoffs while it was still in there. But 1-1 draw for that one, and I'll be honest, I don't really know what to think.
Well, I think it's just the same case as the game we just covered. Actually, I don't know how there weren't more goals. There are 40 shots in that game between both teams combined, and it's just one of those where it feels like it's a little bit of a bad point for both because both are kind of in situations where they needed to win. I think Salford's playoff hopes are really starting to slip away now at this point. But for Crewe, I mean, I don't really know what to think of them, to be honest. They seem to be in full kind of collapse mode, but yet they're still kind of there, but they're also kind of not. I really just don't know what to make of them. You can see they're struggling with the whole injury crisis, but I'm not sure they can sustain that playoff place the way things are going.
Right, you ready for Crewe's next 5 games? Right.
Go on.
Their next game, they're at home to Doncaster. After that, away at Notts County. After that, home to Port Vale. After that, home to Grimsby. After that, away to Bradford. Oof.
Oh.
That is tough.
Well, see you next season, Crewe.
That is a difficult running right there. I don't think you could get much tougher than that, actually.
Yeah, no, that's brutal. That especially with their current situation. They're gonna need a real bit of fight to stay up there. I'm not convinced they'll do it if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, neither am I. I certainly fancy yours over Crewe at the minute. I certainly fancy Colchester over Crewe at the minute. I do agree with Salford though. I just don't think they'll do it. I think injuries. The other side of injuries have hit them hard. They've been on this poor run for a little bit now. And yeah, I just don't think they're quite good enough at present, to be quite honest. Chesterfield beat Newport 2-1. I think I said a Newport win. In the week, I mean, there were 3 goals that were scored in the space of 5 minutes. Newport conceded to Bin Pepper, which is everything you need to know about Newport, to be honest. I probably should have seen it coming. Certainly, Chesterfield had more of the chances. I probably should have seen that coming. I know probably Chesterfield's quality probably just about shone through, more so over Newport. Probably did deserve to win with the amount of shots if we're looking at it like that. It just feels like both seasons have really petered out. They both look like they're going to be mid-table either way. It's just a feeling that I don't think either team are really playing for anything at the minute.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree with that last statement there. I mean, Newport had a chance earlier in that first half before they did score that they really should have put away. So it could have been two, and then maybe it would have been a different game. But ultimately, all three goals are just scrappy set piece goals. It was one of them sorts of games, one of those where you're like, okay, yeah, that's typical lower league football. Chesterfield definitely did have the better of the chances. It's just, all the nice fancy chances they created weren't the ones that went in. It was those two scrappy corner ones. But, it's a nice 3 points to get, and it's a solid performance, even if they were a little shaker than they should have been defensively in that first half. But, you take it. It's just, standard League Two win. That's kind of doesn't mean all that much, but you take it.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much more to say. Another 2 goal shift for Newport. 56 conceded, most in the division. Newport have been a really weird side this year. It seems like at times they go on good spells and they have bad spells. They sit 17th. I mean, they're not going down or anything like that. They're not going up either. They'll certainly be in League Two again next year. I think that's pretty much certain. There's one more game to have a look at. Barrow beat Accrington 2-0. I thought that'll probably be the case, probably more for the fact that Barrow were at home. They got the job done. Accrington, by no means safe. Barrow look like they'll be mid-table again. They're a bit like what we just mentioned about Chesterfield and Newport. They're actually sandwiched in between the two. Doesn't look like they're really playing for anything. Accrington have still got it all to play for, because a couple of other results for Tranmere, and if maybe one of Carlisle or Morecambe pick up a few wins here and there, easier said than done, granted. They could be right in the thick of it as well. They're by no means safe yet.
Oh yeah, no, they're not. I mean, in the end, this game just turned into a bit of a routine win for Barrow. To be honest, I said it on a couple of episodes ago. Barrow will put away poor sides, and Accrington are exactly that. They looked very, very flat throughout this. I mean, one of the goals was yet another set piece one, and with a team with their sort of physicality, you'd expect them to defend it better, and they just simply didn't. It was just flat. That's the only word I can use to describe it. It's just it didn't look like a team that was really fighting for it, which I mean, we've seen they've had other results. Obviously, that they beat us in the midweek, so they are capable of it. I think this game was just a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, they've had glimpses this season. They've had times where when they're on it, they can be all right and they can pick up a few results. I still don't know how they beat us 3-2, to be quite honest. I thought they were one of the poorer teams we played this season, truthfully speaking. I think it was more for the fact that we made some poor decisions that day, but they weren't a great side, truth be told. And it's somewhat what we expected at the start of the season. I thought they were lacking in so much quality that I think it certainly improved there. And I fancy Barrow to get the win. They have done. It's certainly eased any relegation worries and maybe what they had certainly like a month ago. Probably not so much in the last few weeks, but they're fine. There's a few games on Tuesday nights which we'll have a look at for the pod in midweek. You have a look at Accrington go to Newport. You probably sense that's a big game for Accrington. If Accrington get 3 points there, I think the whole mood changes very quickly. I mean, you have a look. AFC Wimbledon host Cheltenham in that game. Colchester welcome Port Vale. That's a big game right there. Two sides that like to draw a lot at the minute. Although, Colchester have been unbeaten for God knows how long. They don't lose many games, as previously mentioned. Notts travel to Grimsby. Of course, that's going to be a goal fest, probably, as it always is. And Salford host Chesterfield in that one. Obviously, there's still a little bit for Salford to play for, but if they have one or two results that they have done recently, they probably won't make it. But that's something we'll have a look at when those results come in, and we'll have a look at that, as well as the fixtures for next Saturday. That's where we'll wrap up this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening. If you are new around here, make sure you like that hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you so much again for 700 subs. We really do appreciate your support as always. A couple of question marks about, the fact that, with streaming platforms as well on other stuff. Hopefully, it should be, not very long until we're back on Spotify for, listeners over there from the sounds of things. So, stay tuned for that one. That's all from me. That's all from us. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.